The former Congressman Albee Benitez is with us. Albee, thank you for dropping by.
Julius, thank you very much.
Sir, let's start with some of the questions now. I'll start with your pronouncements. Last July 19, you said you have seen and heard enough, and the clamor of the people is there. Several days ago, you said, Bacolod, here I come. What did you hear, and what have you seen, and what are you coming for?
Let me put it in perspective. You know, if you had asked me January or February this year, no, Bacolod was not in my plans. I wasn't even thinking of entering the political arena in Bacolod as early as January and February. It just happened in one of our vacation. And I think Congressman Paduano, together with some political leaders of Bacolod, I think Vladimir was there, Patrick Lacson was there, a few barangay captains. They came to visit me in, we were in Lacawan. So I was on vacation, I was having a time out, no? And they came to see me there and tried to convince me to run for Bacolod. My answer then at that time was no. No? Because I said, you know, as much as possible, I am been a provincial consultant and I'm in business. So I was back in my private life. As early as 2019, I've decided not to continue any political position. So during that time, they were convincing me to go back because they say that, you know, they've seen what I've done in the 3rd District and they would like it to continue the service, the things that I've done. So sabi ko, no, not within my plans. And, you know, maybe there was a proposal that they gave me that said, can you at least, okay, for 2 weeks, do not deny that you're running for Bacolod. Because we will float your name, okay. Ang gusto lang nila daw, sunlugon lang nila siguro ang isa katao, which is Bacolod. And they were saying, just don't deny for 2 weeks. So what I did was, okay, 2 weeks, fair enough, I can give you that. The next day, no, after that, they started, you know, putting it in social media. Streamers and posters came out. Run, Albee, run. Dumduman mo na. We had all of these streamers popping around in the city. And it kind of had a groundswell. You know? It was people from all walks of life. Not just the people that I talked to, not just their friends. It was people, ordinary people. There were people also using the mga sako lang and painting it themselves. Run, Albee, run. And then on, there was this groundswell, and people were already saying, you know, that's a good idea. You know? So sabihin ko, you know, I cannot make this last too long, or ako naman ang maigo. And the next couple of days, I started looking at it seriously. And at one point, I said, I really need to get the pulse of the people. So, without telling anyone, no? Okay, if I will ask those people who egged me to run, then of course you will know the answer. So I said I needed a balance, a neutral individuals to tell me what is the real pulse of Bacolod. Are they looking for a new leader? Do they want change? Gusto nila sa pagbago? But who can say this but those who are representing the general public? So I think you've seen it. No? I went to the Central Market, tanaog ko to on my own. And my plan there was to do a survey. Mamangkot ko sa ila. What do you think about Albee running? I was trying to hide myself. No? So basi hindi man ko kilala. Because, you know, I've been a congressman of the 3rd District, but I've never run for any elected position in Bacolod. Nonetheless, that any voters have voted for me in Bacolod. So, amo na tani ang himuon ko, no? It was just to ask around and do a simple survey. Unfortunately, when I got off, pag panaog ko sa salakyan, people started recognizing me. And I just went from one entrance to the other and started to talk to some of the vendors. Most of them were asking me to run. And it was the same tune from beginning to end. And what caught me, I think, was the last vendor that I saw, an old lady, who was asking me to run in tears. So I niya, please run for the sake of Bacolod. And that statement, that request, was too strong for me to neglect. It was, as a public servant, you cannot deny those kind of things. Now, those are the things that make a public servant worthwhile. Call of duty.
Is that the vivid picture in your mind?
Yes, because
When you
that's
decided
really
to-
happened. And I think it came out in social media. I was not expecting anybody there. By chance, there was a media man who took a picture. And when the picture went viral, things started to get excited. Excitement sa Bacolod started to develop.
Yes.
But that was it. And from then on, my statements were already, I'm keeping my options open.
I'll go back to that later, that situation in January and why you decided to.
It's not as if I planned to run for mayor
You
of
did not.
Bacolod. There was no plans at all.
Yes, sir.
No, it just so happened. And it's a call, it's a clamor of the people that really pushed me. So it's not as if I wanted to be mayor.
And also on July 19, you said Bacolod is drowning in corruption. Can you cite specific instances and why that description?
The biggest issue that I'm looking at is mga job orders that's being given left and right by the city. I mean, these job orders are actually being used as a political tool. And that's exactly what I also mentioned about governance. The administration is using political governance as a means to run the city. Now, when I talk of political governance, it's governing by politics. So, in other words, they prioritize political decisions before true governance. And for example, the job orders thing, these are tools to use for political purposes. It's designed to prolong their political position. It's designed to have a grip on the people, to follow their political inclination. It's designed to put people in check, that come election or before election, you are guided into a certain action. So these are the things that, when you win, after you become a mayor or any public official, there shouldn't be any color of your basic or government service. No, wala na piliay, wala na niya. No, you just serve who deserves to be served. You help those who need to be helped, irrespective whether they voted for you or not. No. And that is something that I think we should all be worried about, because that is really how I would define traditional politician, political patronage. Those are the things those are the activities that one traditional politicians would do.
So it's not only about the city drowning in corruption, but drowning in patronage politics.
Corrupt practices and all of the things come in together. And of course, I'll not be the person to enumerate all of those things that are happening. I think there will be a proper forum for that. And when people say that there's none at all, and bring it to court and all those things, please, it's either you're not seeing these things or you're from another planet.
Well, then of course the partisans of Grupo Progreso and Mayor Bing would say, may kaso siya, but he was never convicted for a single case.
Put it this way, most presidents are actually convicted after their term. Okay. So let's see.
Let's see.
Mayor Bing has been the mayor for
Yes.
quite some time,
Like 18 years.
18 years.
Uh-huh. You are being described as a billionaire first, but coming into this political exercise, and you are trying to portray an image of someone who wants change, but people see you first as a billionaire, maalwan, ga panghatag bulig. But how do you feel about that?
Yeah, what's wrong with that? No, it's by nature to me. You know what I mean? If your character is the type that helps out people, and sometimes you know that government cannot come in time, or maybe provide the help that you need, you're forced to use your personal funds or personal money to help out. No, kung you know, you see the limitation of government, and because of that, most politicians will have to use their own personal money to help. It just so happens that, you know, I was in a position to be able to help a little bit more.
Yes.
Because of, well, I guess good fortune during my stint as a private businessman. And then so I have a little bit more to be able to help a little bit more.
But isn't that a bit sad about our state of democracy? Because since 1986, it seems that we haven't, you know, matured. Because people, I've been talking, I did a report once for the PCIJ, and we kind of found out that in Negros Occidental, people don't look for the better leader. They look for the better master. So someone who is generous, someone who can promise them a job, or makapalubong sa ila patay. Isn't that a bit of a tragedy in Negros Occidental?
Yeah, okay. What we want to do is, when you talk about change, it's not just changing the leaders. It's not changing a leader na mas maalwan, mas hapos palapitan, hapos kwaan, and all those things. No, it's actually the system. No? So patronage politics is about, you know, having a patron, and then that's where you get your help. We're trying to change the system from a patronage politics to an institutional governance. In a sense, it's not anymore an individual helping the constituent or the ang gapangita sang assistance, but the institutions. So how is this? For example, no, a health program. If you are sick and you need medical assistance, what would you do? The first thing you'd probably do is look for, and you don't have any money to pay for that medical attention. The first thing you do is you look for a politician to ask for help. Correct? That's it. So the politician will give you help. The best politician will be, ay, hapos ni siya kantuan. Always open, and I can always get assistance from that. Wow, very good. And that's the person that we'd like to vote for. But that is still traditional politics. Okay. What I'm doing and what I've done in the 3rd District was to change that system. You don't need to look for a patron. You don't need to look for a politician to get the assistance that you need. Which is why we have this, what we call no-chip program.
Yes.
The no-chip program is a card. Ginakaptan mo na. It's within your hands. Okay? When you're sick, you go straight to a hospital. You don't need to look for a patron. You don't need to look for a politician. Hindi ka na kinahanglan mangayo bulig. Hindi ka na kinahanglan mangita sang politician, leader o patron nga mahatag sa imo, because you can go straight to the hospital. So the institutional process, you took away the steps of asking, because you have it already in your hands. And that's been done. Right? It's a simple insurance system, okay, that allows the person to seek assistance whenever he needs it. And so it's a change in system. So
yes.
If they say it's just a matter of changing the person in City Hall, that's not it. It's a systematic processing of needs that has to be in place.
But we Filipinos don't seem to be fond of, structural changes.
But you know what? You go to the 3rd District. Go to the 3rd District and ask. That is something that they probably welcome the most. That health program. And I mean, 2008, when I first went around the 3rd district and tried to run and well, announced that I was running for a congressman, most of the people that I meet during that mga maglibot ko, they were asking for medical help, medical attention. Kaya mo ginang pinaka crucial na problem that needs attention right away. So 2008, tanana sila. Most of the requests were all medical in nature. And from then on, I said, let's put up a system that you don't have to look for me. Siling ko gani, my job as a politician, my job as a public servant ends when people will not look for me for help. Kaya ara na sa ila.
Yes.
And so that's what happened. So now when I go around the 3rd district, there's not much medical request. It's more salamat. Thank you na sila because of the assistance, of the help that the program has given them.
Can you tell us a story about that? An incident you cannot forget until now.
There was one request early on, who came to me and asked for medical assistance. They said they needed medicine and they were asking for help. Kaya hindi sila kasarang magbayad sa medicine. Knowing whether, well, at that time I didn't know whether it was a genuine request or a request nga daw, you get to meet a lot of people who do it for the sake of asking so that they can get something out of it. So I said, okay, give it to me and let us process it sa office. And during that time, it took about a week to process the request. By the time we got back to that person, hindi na medicine ang ginapa ngayon.
Ano na?
It's already a burial.
Oh my, napatay.
So why I thought of it cannot be where people will need to ask for help when it comes to medical services. It has to be in Sigida. They can be able to access it. The access to medical attention, the access to medical service has to be right away. You cannot wait.
You did not grow up poor, but why do you feel for this?
During that time, I remember when I was a young boy, sang gamay pa ko, ang akon nga mga friends and mga barkada were all people from the informal settlers. So mga people behind our house in Manila at that time. So, may mga informal settlers na sa likod. I used to hang out more often sa ila than anybody else. So I'm comfortable. I don't feel like I need to be in a luxurious place to feel comfortable. So I guess that experience made me feel the same way as they are. And even here in Negros, there's Bacolod. My grandfather always would say that the best fertilizer is your footprint in a farm. So that's why you have to just go and visit these people.
Because eventually, kadamo absentee landowners sa Negros. Anyway, I'll go back later to specifics of your call for change. But you are one of those congressmen siguro, or former congressmen, nga ang degree is mathematics.
Si
kilala ka mo
Senator
kabilog?
Coco Pimentel is a math major.
Pero jutay lang ka mo, ilisipon ka mo.
Dua lang gani kami.
Oh, you see? Which intrigues me actually because math I hate sang una. But when I became a reporter, I learned to love numbers. And I actually still try to do computations in my head. Of answer. 56,000 times 35,000. Pila. Can you do that computation in your head?
Right now, math majors use a calculator. Why not? Because, those things are not what defines a math major.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It's how to solve problems. Most of the training in math are problem solving. It's not doing arithmetic or multiplication.
Kaya may abacus man gani mo, no? Okay, I'll ask you this. Some saying ang math ko no is the closest we can get to the handwriting of God. What is math to you?
Well, it's because it's precise. There is no if or buts. There's no wrong. It's a precise science. So probably that's where it came from.
Pero how did the numbers guide you in making your decision to run?
To run for
For mayor
Bacolod.
of Bacolod City.
Well, it came after, no? Because after the decision, it was really more of a public call. It was really more of a clamor from the people. And then after that, of course, you assess your chances. And at that time, I was just looking at it. Last election, no, it was like 37, 60% no, in favor of Mayor Bing. So I was looking at the 37%. Most likely that will not go with him. No? So ang awayan na namon ang 60% niya. So if I can get 20% or 25% from that 60%, then
Oh, that's precise stuff.
The last election, 81,000 siya na. 81,000 si Giselle, right? And then Bing was 144,000. So there's a difference of about 63,000.
So what are your odds right now?
Well, I don't know. Ang survey ko na, well, I hear informal surveys. They say that it's going my way. So. But at the end of the day, people looking for change is valid. Okay, you want something new. You want new blood. You want something done differently. You want new ideas.
Sir, if we look at standards, over 9 years ang congressman ka in the 3rd district. If we look at the HDI rankings sa kada town and city under your district, what does it tell us?
Human Development
Index.
Right? That's done every 3 years. It's I had to look at the basis of the HDI. It's done through survey, and it captures, in a sense, life expectancy, education, and gross national income. No?
Yes.
So per capita. I'm not so familiar with the numbers. No, I tried to look for it. No, because it might be a topic today. But I couldn't find a correlation with what's happening. In a sense, it says that it's growing every year by point something. But what does that mean? I still can't understand the significance of those numbers. It's just that, okay, there's improvement in per capita income. People living longer. No? I don't know how they put in the education there. I think it's how many people go to school. No?
Cohort survival ratio, I think.
Yeah. To me, the way I look at it first is the LGUs in the 3rd district. We do a survey once in a while. And my survey always is, are you happy today than you were a year ago or 2 years ago? No. So it's more of whether they're satisfied with the current leaders. As far as the programs are concerned, as I've said, we've through the assistance and help of the local mayors from the different LGUs to provide this no-chip, this health program that we have instituted. Plus, we even launched a burial program for all our constituents. To me, it serves already as an indication, especially when it comes to election, when people revalidate your performance. So the mere fact that we've been winning, I've never lost an election. The mere fact that even if my brother ran for the same position without an opponent, is a validation already of what we have done for the 3rd district.
And how about Bacolod City? What issues have you been studying about Bacolod?
Well, I mentioned because, you know, when we talk of direction or vision, no, it's designed to identify the economic driver of the city. What drives Bacolod economically? What are the things that sustains it in terms of employment, uh, revenues? So those were the questions that, you know, I keep asking people around, and they don't seem to give me a clear direction of where Bacolod is going. So that's why I mentioned, you know, I think it's lacking a sense of where will you take Bacolod 5 years from now, 10 years from now? What will be our main economic drivers that will bring the much needed employment? And instead of just providing these job orders that the local government is giving, you have honest to goodness livelihood or jobs that can, you know, give people their daily bread. Ang mga kinadlan nila sa, you know, kabuhi.
And there was a time when the sugar industry was actually I think, the driver of the Bacolod economy. I don't know if it's still true now.
Well, then if that is the case, you know, I've been calling for a diversification of the sugar industry. In fact, it's not sugar industry that we should look at, but sugar cane industry.
Sugar cane.
Which is why we, you know, I ushered and helped pass into law the Sugar Cane Industry Development Act.
Yeah, I remember.
Because our product is sugar cane, it's not sugar. Sugar is just a byproduct. And my argument before was, what if sugar cane had a high price, but sugar had a low price? Okay, will we still be better off? The answer is yes, because our product is sugar cane, it's not sugar. So that's why the law was designed to benefit the sugarcane farmers.
Talking to some farmers, they say, gaplatu ang presyo sang kalamay subong eh. Over the past like 5-6 years.
That's why. So it cannot be your only economic driver because it may not have a bright future.
Is it the call center industry?
That's one. Yeah, the call center industry is one that you can develop. Why? Because Ilonggos are known to have a very nice pronunciation of the English language, and that's why it attracts a lot of BPOs here. But then, aside from BPO or call center, we should expand that. And to me, the best direction would be the technology industry. You have, Negros is known to have a lot of green energy. So using that, leveraging that, and inviting IDCs, Internet data centers are actually the most users of power in the whole world. Sila may pinakadamong usage of power because they run 24/7, and as the pandemic moved a lot of people to do online transactions, so more data centers are actually being put up. So banks and foreign governments are already saying, if you expand in internet data centers, make sure you use green technology so that we will have a sustainable environment.
And that is where you come in as consultant.
Well, those are the things we just discussed that. So we're trying to pivot Negros Island to capture the trend in the technology industry. It's about changing the system. So what system are we talking about? Is political governance, right? And patronage politics, from political governance to true governance, from patronage politics to institutional governance. So that's what change is all about. Now, you're looking at, as I've said, I gave an example, a health program. We bring the government closer to the people by making it easier for them to access government services. And if we can just continue, like for example, before you can have a government assistance, you need to indigency, certificate of indigency. You need to fill up several requirements. You have to go to so many agencies and offices before you're given that assistance. Why go through that process? Can't we simplify that? Can't we make it even easier for them?
So
As I
that's,
said, bring government
that's one thing.
closer to the people.
Streamline processes.
Oh, definitely. Not only on government services, but in all aspects of government transactions.
I'll go back later. I hope we can break it down by sector, economy, politics, and what else, no? Pero I'll go to the complaint filed against you. Interestingly, I was reading your pleading through your lawyer, of course, and I kind of saw that Jonah Abaw, one of the complainants, is actually a regular employee of City Hall. What would you make of that?
That's against the Civil Service Code. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody would file a case against him. And it gives you an idea, the motive of these people. Ano gidang intention nila to was there an anomaly that I did that they're calling out, or were they directed to file that petition? And since where they work, and my presence here is to threaten that position. So maybe you can add one and one together. And
of course, political partisans would say you are a billionaire, but you only paid Dow, allegedly, reportedly, 525 pesos for your cedula.
Yeah,
what would you say about that?
The payment for ang cedula is your income previous year. Okay, so all they have to do is check my ITR. Every person files an income tax return, and during that on that income tax return, you can compute pila gid ang kinanang ko bayaran sa cedula ko. And as I've said, 2020 was the year of the pandemic. Most of us, especially in my companies, the companies where you get compensation, we have waived our salaries already. Kay damo na nadulaan ubra. And our companies were struggling. So why will I get money from?
So you waived.
We waived it. Tanan kami nag-waive. And then they will say, if you waive your salaries, how can you afford to still go around and live a life? I said, I don't even have to work in my whole lifetime. I will still be able to afford to do what I'm doing. That's where I said, when there is some luck during my stint as a private sector, and I was able to do well, and that's where I started giving back. I won't be able to do that if I was in a hand-to-mouth situation.
Of course.
Exactly.
And of course, they admit that you are a billionaire, in fact.
But exactly. So that I can afford even not to work for the rest of my life.
Yes.
And not just me, even my family would still be well taken care of.
Which makes me wonder, how do you live your life every day, billionario? I've never been in that position pa.
I can invite you to one whole day. You can
that is very nice.
You can bring your camera, the reality
We
show.
can do a documentary about that.
The Kim Kardashian.
No, seriously, we are actually doing a first in Negros. It's
really?
the Cinema Verite.
Sige,
So
just don't
it's-
take me when I'm, bago na ako nagmata.
that's
kay-
nice.
My
Sige.
hair is all messed up.
There he is. You're fly in the wall, cameraman. Anyway, before I go to other substantial issues like anong vision mo, some people siguro would be asking, what makes you happy? Arat na tanan sa imo eh.
Maybe the question is why am I entering politics again? No.
Oh,
Considering, I know the difficulties, I know the commitment that you need, especially when it's an executive position. The hardships, the trials, and all those things. It all comes with that position. But at the end of the day, when a person comes up to you and say thank you for helping them, and you made a difference in that life, that person, I mean that's more than heaven for me, and then that really makes my day.
So it's rather food for the soul.
You can say that.
Well, of course, we go back to Maslow again. Self-actualization. No?
Yeah.
Okay, vision, sir. Let's talk about change, not only in the system, but specific areas.
Okay.
Economy.
Yeah, economic drivers. We
Economic
have to
drivers.
identify economic drivers, something that will have a long-lasting effect, in a sense that let's not choose economy or an industry that may not be there when probably another pandemic comes around. Because we were trying to get out of this COVID-19 pandemic, but it also taught us that this could happen again. So we would like to position ourselves that should something similar happen, okay, we don't get hit as hard.
But surprisingly, during the COVID pandemic, it was agriculture that was surprisingly resilient.
So things like that. So agriculture, and as I will go back to the technology industry.
Technology industry.
Okay, because those two industries are actually were not hit by the pandemic.
So agriculture for food,
For
food sustainability.
food security, and technology industries to level up our
A smart
workforce.
city, perhaps.
Smart city, definitely.
Health. Health. If you
Health?
talk about health, yes.
As I've said, access to medical service should be easy. I've already mentioned how it should be. Now the question is, if you can access, you have the means already. You have a no-chip card, you have an insurance card, you have a means to access medical service. The question is where? So they keep saying that Bacolod needs a hospital. Yes, Bacolod needs a hospital because most of the people that go to the regional hospital, napuno na eh.
70 to 80%.
That's why you see people lining up in the streets and trying to get into that hospital. And not only that, even Silay, the provincial hospital, 40% of patients are coming from Bacolod. So there is really a lack of facilities for to attend to the medical needs of Bacolod. But I said, aside from one regional hospital, there are 6 private hospitals. So I said, it's not hospital that we need, right? It's being able to access the hospital facilities by our community or people who probably can't really afford to pay the private hospitals.
So in that case, we're talking about state-owned hospitals.
Yeah, so I tried to reach out to some of the hospitals, and I've talked to about 3. Now we have touch base to our 3 by having a program where the private hospital will accept all of these patients, as long as they have this card that we intend to extend. So in other words, any person in Bacolod City, okay, that is not capable of paying the regular fee of a private hospital can now afford it. So they can just go into any private hospitals, okay, and use the system.
The card alone is enough.
Use the card alone to access that medical attention that they seek. So usually, when you go to a private hospital, the first thing they will ask is down payment.
Yes.
Down payment, etc. So the local government can sign an agreement with all of these private hospitals. That, we will assist these people.
And may mga hospital diri nga do, like one hospital is about to move out. May bag-o eh. Sa Mandalagan mismo.
Moving out.
Moving out, kay masaylo sila site. Can the city actually think about that? Should you win, nga you can actually lease
Of
a
course.
previous hospital and then convert it.
Of course.
And then si Gregio Satayang, iyang
Yeah.
district hospital is about to rise.
Yes.
Possibly by next year, no?
Yes. Not only that, not only those the new hospital, the old hospitals, ang halinan sang previous hospital, that all can be utilized to address the medical requirements of the city.
Very, very interesting. But what intrigues me is ang economic drivers ta. Because as of now, ang ginalantaw ta lang is ang BPO and then we have the malls.
Yeah.
But
funny you mentioned malls. No? Yes, malls bring huge investment to the city. No? But do you want investment coming into the city that stays in the city? Right? Who are the owners of these malls?
outside.
People living outside the city. So, ang tanan nga ginansya, if they make money, where do you think they'll keep the profits? Right? So, we're looking for investment where it stays here and doesn't leave out. You know, we talk of progress and development. Okay. The way for a city to develop is the money in circulation within that confined space. Okay. Increases. Because if it's still the same, then there's really no development happening. Okay? Gasaylo lang ang kwarta from one group to the other.
Yes.
Right? But if you start bringing in outside money coming in, and that money staying within the economic circles of that confined space, then you will see that they're growing.
In that case, is an export processing zone
Yes.
one of the things that we should have?
Yes. That's why, but when we talk of manufacturing, we will have to take a look at our competitive advantage. Do we have what it takes for the manufacturing investment to come here and to attract them?
Power, water, roads.
Everything, human cost and all those things. Can we compete with China?
Oh, that.
Because you look at it from a global perspective, right? Can we compete with Taiwan? Can we compete with Japan, Korea, and all those things? Right? So we have to address where do we have a competitive advantage, and that's the industry that we'll go for.
Does the Singapore model appeal to you? Can we actually turn Bacolod into a mini Singapore?
Well, to me, when we talk of technology industry, when we're looking at smart cities, the answer could be yes. No, we just have to work for it. It will take time, but I believe if we set it in the right direction, and work on it, we should be able to achieve it.
Yes, yes. I have to ask you this, if you may. Siyempre, again, from political partisans of your opposing force, no? The issue against you is that you are a gambling lord, siling nila. Would you care to comment about that?
Well, my business is public. Everybody knows it's. In fact, our company is a publicly listed company in the stock exchange, so everybody knows that. First, it's a legal business. I have not violated any laws. It is authorized. I give employment. I pay my taxes. So what's wrong with that? No? So if it was any other business with similar stature in terms of legal foundation, would there be something wrong? So I mean, if it's not a good business to begin with, then let's close down. Let's close down Pagcor. Let's close down all the other casinos, all the other gaming outlets in the country.
But of course, you understand the partisans are very insistent also.
Well, that's been an issue ever since I ran
You
for
became
public office.
congressman.
They feel that it's an issue that people can resonate with. But I don't know. So far, it has not harmed my election campaign.
Tell me about your dream for Bacolod City. without going into the specifics, but what is your dream for Bacolod?
First, to increase the middle class, reduce homelessness, provide a decent home for every Bacolod non, that they have a place of their own that they can call balaygin nila. To ensure that people would have enough opportunities for either business, employment, and have a social environment that's conducive for a decent life.
Mm-hmm.
You go to the markets now. I mean, it's a clear sign of neglect. Tanan nga merkado, you go in there, people would realize that nothing was done to improve those markets.
So it's puluyan and kahigayunan. Shelter and opportunities.
Yes.
Let's go to that program of yours for housing. What do you plan initially?
We're going around. I'm doing a survey right now on all the informal settlers in Bacolod. And there are several models that we can adopt. And basically, all we have to do is make sure that the housing program that we give them is sustainable and affordable and holistic in approach. When I say holistic, people always say, let's put a relocation site out there. But it should not just be a relocation site. It should have livelihood programs and all those things so that they will stay there. That is the hardest thing to do.
Yes.
Because there's always a mismatch of jobs. People don't know what to put up. And sustaining that kind of program is very, very hard. Basically, what you want to do is have a relocation site that has a transportation program, okay, that it is not a burden to them. Because transportation is actually your third biggest cost of every household.
So if private companies can do townships, government should also do that.
Actually, government should be the initiator of development. Because when you bring government outside, the jobs follow. So that's why government is usually the initiator of development.
So in a way, it's also an economic driver, public spending.
It is an economic driver.
What else? What else?
What else? What do you want?
Deep in your heart, what do you want for Bacolod?
As I've said, I'm looking at all of the issues in Bacolod, from water, electricity, floods, infrastructure, health programs, education, all of these things you must attend to it. It's focusing on these basic sectors of governance and forgetting about whether I will win, whether politically I have a control on the city, making sure that it's just my people going around that gets the benefit. For example, I've heard certain public officials deny certificate of indigency because they are not within the same political color, And this is something that I just heard yesterday. This a person named Michelle Pilla from Taculing. She was denied an ambulance or transport to the hospital because what I heard was she had a poster of Albee in her house. And 2 days ago, they were able to reach out. We facilitated the lady, 34-year-old lady, to the hospital. But unfortunately, she didn't make it. So she died about 2 days ago.
Was it COVID or
no.
anything else?
It was, she couldn't, hindi na siya kapangihibla, so it was there for a couple of months. And then it reached the heart and it got intoxicated. I mean, things like that. No?
She was denied an ambulance.
That's, in other words, they were asking for assistance to be brought to the hospital. So things like that. When you talk of political governance, when you talk of giving service because of color, of your political color, that cannot be. No. And that has to change.
All right. Very sad. But I'll go to some other issues. Is it true that Congressman Paduano will be your vice mayoral candidate?
No, he's running for Congress.
Okay.
He still has one term. And
So it's not true.
He's doing very well as a minority leader.
Who's going to be your vice mayoral candidate?
Wala pa.
Wala pa.
Worst time, I'm still looking at the things that I should focus on, the things that I can bring to the city, the things that I can change. Once that's done, I think my slate will be next.
Can we say that Sadi Saison and June Gamboa are some of your choices?
Well, all of them are actually, there's no particular person yet that I'm looking at. I'm just trying to focus on what the city needs, what can I do, what can I bring.
So it's more about firming up the vision.
Yeah, because I can work with anybody. I mean, it's not as if there's only a particular person I can work with. Because to me, it's not about blind loyalty to an individual. It's agreeing with a direction where we're going. We're agreeing with the vision of what we intend to do with the city.
How do you guard against arrogance? I mean, I don't know if you've encountered people who don't agree with you.
And then that's their prerogative, right?
No, but I mean, how do you guard against being arrogant?
At the end of the day, you can explain to them. It's a matter of showing them what you want to do. Okay, so once you're effective in convincing them to do what you want to do, then that's it.
Yes.
By just putting a new person, new blood. Sometimes you want young people, you want new blood to come in, so they have a different way of doing things. They look at it differently. So people are trying to say, we want to try something else.
All right. On that note, former Congressman Albee Benitez, thank you so much.
Thank you, Julius.